Welcome. I'm Lauren Adler, the Chief Chocophile of Chocolopolis. I'm excited today to be joined in conversation by Maureen Nikaido of Moku Chocolate. We'll do a tasting and we'll hear more about Maureen's journey to making chocolate. So welcome, Maureen.
Morning. So great to see everybody. Thanks for coming. So my name is Maureen Nikaido, and I am in Philomath, Oregon, which is about 90 miles south of Portland, and north of Eugene. If you know Corvallis, a little college town right next door to Corvallis. And have lived here about 6 years, lived for 30 plus years in Seattle area, worked at University of Washington, then went down to California and then up to Oregon. So I think Oregon's where we're gonna call it home. But yeah, I started making chocolate, started learning about it in 2019 really, and made my first batch probably very end of 2019 and practiced for about a year before I started selling. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into more details as we go.
Yeah, so we didn't want to leave you hanging, so we thought we'd start by trying a chocolate and then we can get into Maureen's story. So, when I taste chocolate, I like to start with the things that the non-inclusion bars. So we're going to start with the Peru single origin first. I'm fortunate in that I actually have two different batches. The batch everybody has here is batch 22. I have like one square left of batch 9, so I might do a little comparison tasting. But let's go ahead and open up the bars. I think everybody here, knows how to taste chocolate, but for those who are maybe watching this later, I'm going to go through it briefly again. All of you should have your handy tasting cards here that came with this and your flavor wheel. And I just like to remind people that tasting is very personal. There's no right or wrong answers. Your taste, what you taste is going to be different than what I taste. We all have our own memories and experiences tied up in flavor and taste. And so, the important part is that you enjoy this. None of this is meant to be intimidating. This flavor wheel is meant to be a fun tool. I know when I'm tasting things and I'm thinking, oh, that reminds me of something, I'm not sure what, I will look at a flavor wheel and it helps maybe narrow down for me what it is I'm tasting. So it's really meant to be fun. All right, so, and Maureen, if you have your ways of tasting, please feel free to, share those as I'm going along here. So okay.
I'm ready to follow you.
Okay, that sounds good. I use all 5 senses, right? So the first thing we're going to do is look at this piece of chocolate. Okay, mine has a little crumbs because I've already opened it and broken into it. But you want to see that it's nice and shiny, right? It doesn't have bloom on it, meaning that it's been exposed to moisture or heat, which would give it kind of a crumbly texture, which, as you know, is not ideal. We want to break it in half. Listen to the sound it makes. You want to hear a nice snap sound. Oh, it's a tough one to break. I was once told, I was doing a tasting one time and I broke a piece and everybody else couldn't break it. And they were like, wow, you have strong thumbs. And I thought, yeah, it's because I break a lot of chocolate. Okay, so you want to hear that nice snap. That means it's well tempered, doesn't have any of that bloom, hasn't been exposed to moisture or heat. Rub it between your fingers. How does it feel? I probably should have done that first, but it's okay. You can rub it between your fingers. You want it to feel kind of smooth, not sticky or gritty. Then rub it between your fingers under your nose and take small sniffs and think about what you're tasting. Because if you were to, plug your nose and taste this, you would only get tongue tastes. So bittersweet, salty, sour, and umami, but your sense of smell is what's giving you all these other flavors. Go ahead, put it in your mouth. Don't chew. The fat in chocolate, the cocoa butter, melts just below your body temperature. And if you chew, the cocoa butter doesn't have a chance to melt, and it's the cocoa butter that's diffusing that flavor in your mouth. So you want to just let the cocoa butter melt, move it around your mouth. Sometimes I'll hold it to the roof of my mouth or my palate with my tongue and kind of breathe in as I'm tasting. And then what I like to think about as it's melting is, does it taste the same from the beginning to the middle to the end? Or do the flavors kind of change as it's melting? So is it a one-note chocolate or is it maybe a little bit more complex? All right, that's my tasting 101. So I think most of you are at least at 102. But actually, feel free, if you have something you want to share, feel free to turn on your microphone or put it in the chat. We'd love to have a little bit of a conversation around the tasting portion.
Yeah, I love hearing what people taste.
Don't be shy. I know this bunch probably has a bit to say. Come on.
I'm getting like a buttery caramel note and a little bit of Scotch whiskey.
All right, well, I'm actually getting some fruity notes. Like I got some orange and raspberry. And then like a really quick hint of banana, but that was only at one point in the melt. It was fleeting.
Got a really, really strong cherry flavor from it.
Was that
That's what I
Judy?
got too. Cherry.
Yeah, I got the orange, but then it kind of turned into more cherry.
Are you going to tell us a little bit about why you sourced this particular chocolate? It's really interesting reading the back of the package.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell that to you now if you'd like. So, so in the beginning, I was just trying different origins, and I was trying to get different flavor profiles. So you could buy, I always thought it would be fun to have like a tasting set, and maybe this was something people would take to a dinner party or, you know, just do at home for fun. So I always wanted to have a collection that would have different flavor profiles. So I really liked working with Peru. They're beautiful beans. I hardly have to sort them. They're nice and plump. They winnow really well. And the first time I made them, it wasn't very distinct for me. It took me a long time to figure out what this chocolate was about. And then I tasted cherries. And then that's kind of what I was going for. And just to me, this one has a really, it's fruity, but it's not like overwhelming fruity. It's not like Madagascar that kind of hits you in the face with its fruitiness. Its zippiness, you know, that I thought this was really well balanced. So I liked it a lot. And there is that little bit of banana that I am now trying to develop the banana a little bit more. And it's lovely. I'm still figuring out, but my last batches have had a little bit more of the banana. It's kind of like banana bread. When I have these beans, before I roast them, I smell the banana. So I know it's there. And so it's a matter of figuring out how to bring that banana out. But I want to keep the cherry too.
I just tasted the other batch of Peru, the batch 9. So all of us are tasting batch 22. I happen to have some batch 9. And it's much more the cherry, kind of in your face cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very lovely. And that was the one I actually purchased and really liked, but I don't notice as much complexity as I do in batch 22. So it sounds like you're making, or it seems like you're making progress.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hope to be making progress with every batch. It's a science and an art, and always trying to figure it out. Eating a lot of chocolate along the way.
Well, on that note, let's turn to your journey.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself, and would you like me to start showing the slides now, or do you want to let me know when you want to show them?
Well, yeah, you can show the first one. It's so pretty. So
let me tee that up here.
Okay, great. So I kind of think of my journey as starting in Nicaragua in 2013. I went to Nicaragua, and this is a picture of Granada. It's absolutely beautiful. Can you go to the next one? And I was there to visit a child that I had been sponsoring since 2006, when she was 6 years old. And we'd been exchanging letters. In fact, when I first started sponsoring her, she didn't speak English, so the first letters were from her mom. And by the time I visited her, she was 14. These two photos are from a view from like an old church tower. So Nicaragua is known as the land of volcanoes, lakes and volcanoes. And there are, I think, 6 active volcanoes, and you can go to all of them, and you can go right up to the basin of one active volcano. But which we did, but I found that's not really something you want to do because it's like noxious fumes, you know, it's burning your throat and your eyes. So it's cool to say you've done it, but it's not super pleasant. But and can you go on to the next one, Lauren? So just show a few of these slides. So, and then, yeah, this is a crater. This is a volcano, and then the crater lake. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then we'll just show the next two.
Is that Mount Mombacho?
I think it is Mombacho, and that's Lake Apoyo. It's a crater lake, and this is another shot of Lake Apoyo. And it's just a clear crater lake, beautiful, and you can swim in it. And we did. So, and then I love this photo. This is Mombacho cloud forest. So this, in my memory, the Granada, you know, the colonial buildings, and then this lush forest, this cloud forest. There may have been cocoa trees growing here, but I didn't know what they looked like. Although if there were, I think they would have stood out to me. They're pretty distinctive, but just so lush and green. And then we'll just go to the next photo, and I'll focus a little bit more on my journey. So, yeah, so it started with sponsoring a little girl in 2006. And, you know, we had been exchanging letters, and at the time of my life when I was sponsoring her, I, you know, I felt a little bit stuck in my life. Just, you know, I looked around, and friends were getting married and having babies, and I felt like I was sort of in the same place. And I decided I needed to kind of get out of my own head and, you know, focusing on my disappointments and maybe do something for somebody else, focus on somebody else, just kind of put some love out there. And found out about this sponsorship program. And I thought, you know, I didn't have a lot of money to give, but, you know, I had a little, and I couldn't change all the things. There's so much need in the world, but maybe I could help one person. And this relationship was just so gratifying to me to watch this kid grow, and to hear about her life. And I just knew that I wanted to meet her someday. And I was so fortunate when she was 14 to be able to meet her. And this photo is her and her mom. So I tell you this background to tell you that, like, the chocolate journey in Nicaragua is like really personal to me. I mean, it was more than just going to Nicaragua. It was life-changing for me. So we can go on to the next slide. But anyhow, we're in Granada and we're wandering around, and we found this kind of little hole in the wall, Choco Museo, little chocolate museum. Technical difficulties. It's just a photo of the building. But and we wandered in, and it was tiny, but it explained where chocolate came from, where it was grown, the tree it was grown on, had, you know, displays of chocolate beans. And I had never really given much thought to where chocolate came from. And yeah, I just really hadn't thought about it. Maybe I thought, you know, Belgium or what, but so I was just really fascinated with all of it. And then it talked about the people that are growing the chocolate, which for the most part, as you know, are these small family farmers who maybe have like a couple hectares. And in many cases, it's a secondary crop for them. And it talked about how, you know, these people are often living in poverty or below the poverty level. And I just thought, you know, that's not right. Chocolate's just something that we so covet. How can that be that these farmers aren't getting a piece of it? But as we know, you know, this happens in many things. But I think because I had that emotional connection to Nicaragua already with this little girl, that just really kind of hit me hard. And I just really thought about that, and I knew I wanted to do something, but I had no idea what that would be. I just thought I want to stay connected to Nicaragua, and I would love to maybe in some small way be a help here. I had no idea what that would be. I didn't know about the craft chocolate movement at that point. That was 2013, so certainly was happening, but I was unaware of it. I didn't know that just regular people could make chocolate. And that idea stayed with me for many years, but I didn't do anything with it. So a lot of people say like, oh, your chocolate journey happened so fast, you know? And from the time I started making it to now, I guess that was really fast, but really 2013, I had this idea. And then I just thought about it. In 2019, I finally started, I was talking to my husband about it and started just researching chocolate. And I learned about this craft chocolate community and that there were folks out there making chocolate and they were attracted to it for different reasons, but a lot of them really cared about the people behind it. Direct trade was very important. Environmental practices were very important. So I kind of knew that, that I found my people and I realized that people were actually making it. So I started out, I took an online class through Moku Chocolate and just learned everything about chocolate, learned how to taste chocolate, learned about all the steps in the process. But of course you don't make chocolate in an online class. So I started making it, and I'm a type of person who wants to know everything about something before I started. I wanted to read everything. So I took that class and I still really wasn't making chocolate. And because to make chocolate, I had to buy a little machine. I had to buy the laundry, and I didn't want to invest in it if I wasn't any good. But finally, I did. I got my little melanger and I started making chocolate and trying different origins. My first origin, let me see what photos we should be going for. Oh, let's go to the next one. My first origin that I did, of course, was Nicaragua. I got these two little 1 kilo bags maybe of cocoa beans from Nicaragua. This is from an organization. I don't go through them anymore, but this made a nice chocolate with kind of some nice raisiny notes. So that was kind of fun. But these were my first two little bags. And let's see, let's go on to the next one. And then I'm upping my production in my own kitchen a little bit. And then we'll go on the next one, which is, I think this was January 2021 when I picked up my wrappers. And this was really significant because this was when I could finally start selling my chocolate. And up to that point, I was just giving it away to friends. And this was a little bit before the pandemic. So I did take it into the office a couple times and had people like fill out little anonymous cards about what they were tasting. And then I think, okay, next slide in the journey. This is a shelf at Market of Choice. This was so exciting for me. That happened last March, so just a year ago. That was my first store. And then we'll just end on, remember those two little bags that I started with, and then we'll end on this. So this is like a 60K bag of Ecuador beans. So yeah, so that was like in about a year span. But yeah, so it really, I do say that it started in Nicaragua. It started with that relationship and just this idea, and took the class and then spent a year really just making chocolate. And before the pandemic, what I thought I was going to do, because I had a full-time job, I thought I was going to do like craft markets, holiday markets, farmers markets, maybe just as my side gig. And then, you know, the pandemic, and then those things were off, and you know, we weren't doing farmers markets, or we were doing them really differently. And I wasn't really comfortable doing that, and nobody was doing holiday markets, a closed room in winter. So and then I forgot, but I took a class that's specifically for food entrepreneurs that they have in through the Portland Community College. It was great. And yeah, we can stop with photos for now, Lauren. And but in this class, we learned about food safety and commercial kitchens and figuring out your cost of goods and selling. And we, learned about selling in stores and specialty markets, farmers markets, all that. And I just didn't picture myself in a grocery store because I liked the really hands-on part of it, and doing it on a small scale, and I was worried that I would lose that. But my advisor encouraged me to reach out to Market of Choice, which I guess you don't have up there, but it's an Oregon store. There's 11 of them here, and it's like our fancy step up from Safeway here. And so I reached out to them, and there was an Oregon Chocolate Festival, and they were sponsoring, and so they bought my chocolate to put in their gift bags. And then after that, they decided that they wanted to carry it in all their stores. And right around the same day, like these actually happened, or yeah, one day apart. Then I got an award for my goat milk chocolate, and that's kind of where. So that was March. Both those things happened in March. So a year ago. I had to write out a timeline for myself because it did go fast. It feels like it's been more than 1 year, but it's just been 1 year. But that kind of, I'll stop there because I've been talking a lot, but that's kind of a brief overview of my journey kind of up to now.
You're very good at telling the story. I'm curious because as you said, you have gone from very small to like selling in a supermarket. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges of, and also your size? Like, have you had to, change anything? And also the challenges of suddenly having a small grocery store, but a grocery store wanting your product.
Yeah, so I'm really figuring out this part because it is, and I've added some stores since. And so what I've noticed is it's like really intense getting that order fulfilled, for weeks up to that. So that first order was like 800 bars. And I think I still had just my, little melangers that were maybe 3K. And so I think the first thing I did was I went on Amazon and I got 2 more. But I really felt like a hamster on the wheel. So it's really intense, like, getting this fulfilled. It's crazy. I was still working full time. I was, at night doing this after work and on all the weekends. And then you get it fulfilled and then it's quiet. And then you hope like you'll get another customer. And the same thing happened in the holidays. That was absolutely insane. So the Meadow, which is in Portland, and they have a store in New York, they did a big order, I think 77 cases, and it was the same thing. And so then I again upgraded my melangers, but I didn't get those until after the holidays. But I'm now using 2 melangers that can do 10K at a time, which is great. So I can do 10K will give me like 200 bars. So so that's really nice. But I'm trying to figure out, like, scaling up is such a puzzle to me because, I've upgraded, but now it's like, I'm not, for that time during the holidays, I constantly was roasting, and those melangers were going like 24/7, take 3 days for one batch. I'd pour it out, I'd put more in there, start all over again. And, now I have the bigger ones and it's past the holiday season. So it's kind of my slow time right now. So sometimes those aren't being used. And it's just like, do I need to scale up? It would make it, easier when it's busy, but now it's slow. So, but it's kind of like I take it on faith that I am going to be busier. I'm going to keep looking for more wholesale accounts. And so, yeah, that's kind of been the challenge, Lauren. I feel like, yeah, when you get more accounts, then you kind of have to upgrade your machinery or, get somebody to help you. So those things have happened. My husband was my helper in the beginning, like every Saturday or Sunday, he would help me and we'd make a batch. And then eventually I hired somebody, but, over the summer, just, like 4 hours a week, 8 hours a week to help me with the molding. And now I have somebody doing that too. And it's like, I don't really need it, but when you do, you do. So.
Are you still making in your kitchen, or how have you
Oh, no.
with your
Yeah.
space?
So I'm renting a commercial kitchen. So I know cottage law is different in every state, but for here, so if you want to sell in grocery stores or just, retail, or even online, actually. Well, the thing with online is, like, you could sell it online and be doing it in your cottage kitchen, but if you want to take payment or ship, I think is the thing. You have to be doing it in a commercial kitchen. So anyway, I am in a commercial kitchen in my little town, and it's great. I got a good deal on it. So I'm using that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have a few questions from the crowd, and let's see. Kathy, I'm going to hold on to the question about artwork while we're talking about processing, so we'll come back to that one. But Rebecca is asking, what's your producing process? What equipment do you use? And Kathy is asking, what are you using to roast your beans?
Great. So I've been using 2 little Beemore coffee roasters, if you're familiar with that. It's just a little, I think maybe I have a picture later on when we talk about process. And so I was doing just one of those. Those just do 1 kilo at a time. So I was, hours doing that 1 kilo at a time. And then for the holiday rush, I, got another one. So doing 2 kilos at a time. Those, of course, I had the one, I kind of had it figured out. I drilled a hole in it. I've got my little probe. I can see what the temperature is. I kind of got my roasting profiles down. Then I get this second one that's really the same roaster. I think they maybe upgraded it a little bit. They're totally calibrated differently. So I couldn't just set the 2 of them and let them go together. They were just, one was just way hotter than the other. And so there's just always these growing pains anytime you introduce something new. But the Beemore I like. Last weekend, I just drove up to Portland to buy a coffee roaster, a Royal roaster. It's built in the 1900s, cast iron, gas powered. Just got that. Had to borrow a truck, bring it down. It's sitting in the garage. And probably this summer, that will be my project, is to figure out how to use that. And that will be starting from scratch, really. Figuring out my profiles all over again. And I'm sure you guys know that, there's not like a recipe. There's not, they're not clear directions. Like, you put the beans in, you run them for this long, or you get them to this temperature or whatever. You really just have to do it and see if you like it. And that takes a long time. And so now I've got this big thing that I think can do 10 kilos at a time. So that will be great. I don't know what the smallest amount I can do in there is, but it means I'm going to have to experiment with a lot of beans.
Right, because if you put them in the Beemore, you're not going to get this as a test. You're not going to get the same roast as the larger one will do, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so that will be a learning curve again.
Well, I'm curious, for this new gas-powered antique roaster that you've purchased, is that something you're planning to install in the commercial kitchen? Because I know with processing, you have to keep your roasting and winnowing very separate from the rest of the production, right? For
Yeah.
contamination control.
Yeah. I mean, I hope to. I think this summer I'll just be doing it out in my my driveway. But but yeah, I'll have to figure that out, because the commercial kitchen that I'm in right now, there's some stairs getting into it. And I don't know how that will work with the roaster. And I need to like roll it outside. I don't know. I haven't figured any of that out.
We'll come back. We'll check back in at the end of the summer.
Right.
Kathy was also asking if you could talk about your packaging and the artwork on it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So through this class that I took, it's called Getting Your Product to Market through Portland Community College. We had somebody come and talk to us about branding and logos and all that. And she primarily works with food, travel and food, really, producers. And I ended up, that's the one thing that I spent money on early on, is that I hired her. And she had this interesting process. She had me fill out this questionnaire, who I'm trying to target, what my values are, what's important to me, what I'm trying to convey. And then we did this interview over Zoom. We're now fully in the pandemic. And it was really interesting. So we did that, and she'd kind of send me samples, figure out kinds of things that I'm attracted to, which are kind of watercolory, abstract sort of things. And I was really wanting to connect people to the land. I didn't want like my name up there big. I didn't want, photos, or I don't know. I just, I wanted it to evoke the land that it comes from. And as you see some of those photos, maybe my packaging reminds you of a little bit of that, but I wanted there to be that connection, that this isn't being produced in a factory. There's real people living in these beautiful places that are growing these trees. And I wanted it to be sort of calming and just beautiful. And she had a couple samples that she came up with, but when I saw this one, I was just like, that's it. I mean, it just really, and she sourced it from an illustrator, and we just mix up the color for each one. And I've talked to her recently. I finally got some Nicaragua beans, and that I like, and I've talked to her, like, Nicaragua is super special to me. Should we make a different design? And I think we're just going to keep the same, and because it's kind of, that's the brand now, I think. But it really speaks to me, and I think it's really beautiful. And I think another thing is, in that questionnaire, I really kind of wanted this to be special, like something that people might gift to people. And so I think, she designed something that is pretty enough that you would give it as a gift. And so I really love that about it.
It is really, really beautiful. And you're getting a number of comments. Rebecca said, wonderful artwork. I mean, it really is stunning. I think and it really does I think it gets across the land connection that you wanted. Where did the name Moku come from?
Well, so that was just a totally made up name. So right before the pandemic, I was super lucky to go on a chocolate trip that Dandelion Chocolate in San Francisco was hosting to Belize. And it was hosted by their, quite a bit bigger. So they have one person who does all their sourcing, Greg, and he's a real character. And he was hosting this trip. And I remember it very well because we were in the back of this truck that was probably usually used to haul cocoa beans, but we're all like standing in this truck bed, and maybe a dozen of us, and bumping along through this cocoa farm. And I was like, I cornered Greg, and I was like, I tried not to hit him with too many questions, but I'm like, here's some names I'm thinking about. What should I do for a name? And I had like things like from Nicaragua, and not clever things or places in Nicaragua that I love, like Mombacho or Apoyo or whatever. And he said, yeah, I think those are pretty good, but my one piece of advice would be to make it easy to pronounce and short, like maybe 2 syllables max. And so we're bumping along and I'm just like putting together syllables and hit on Moku. And I started with Mo because that's my nickname, and just kind of added some random syllables, and Moku just sounded right. And I made sure it didn't mean anything offensive, or, you know, a body part or whatever. And I think it means, I think it's something in Hawaiian, maybe mountain, or, and then my in-laws are Japanese, and they said they thought it might be tree. So I'm thinking it's not very much used in the Japanese language because they weren't really sure what it was. But I like the sound of it. It kind of sounds Asian to me. And I'm, you know, I have that, I'm married to a Japanese man. So I like that about it. But yeah, I thought that was great advice. Just keep it short and easy to pronounce, and that's really what it's about. Yeah.
Well, why don't we go ahead and try the Madagascar with orange zest? Many of you, I mean, so these beans came from the Biofo estate, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is Bertilla Occasin. So many of you probably know that one. And I don't know, Maureen, if you want to say anything about these beans or how you decided to add orange zest, which honestly is one of my favorite combinations with Madagascar.
Oh yeah, you know, so Madagascar itself, these are not my favorite beans. I just the fruitiness, I guess, when I'm kind of drawn to chocolate that's more like chocolatey. So I love this because I think it's a really, I mean, Madagascar is great because it's a good introduction to how there's all these flavors in chocolate. You know, that one makes it really easy to find. But the fruitiness, when I'm picking a chocolate, I don't tend to go for the really kind of zippy, citrusy one. But I decided I wanted to just kind of complement that by adding the orange peel. And so the orange, I just love this combination. If you have the package, which I guess you all do, you see that this was kind of an ode to my dad. He, as kids, we would always have ice cream for dessert, and he would always abstain. So like I thought he didn't have a sweet tooth. You find him in the evenings eating this, you know, neon orange. This is in the 70s. This neon orange sherbet with a Hershey's chocolate sauce drizzled on it. His own little combination. This was before Ben and Jerry's and everything. And they used to have the, I don't know if they still do, but these checkerboard ice creams, and they had like vanilla and chocolate and vanilla and strawberry. I think maybe vanilla and orange. He was so passionate about this chocolate flavor that he wrote to the chocolate company, you know, you should do orange and chocolate. And I don't know if they ever responded to him, but he was just ahead of his time, you know, because now we have all these crazy combos. But this flavor combo always makes me think of my dad, and it's just one that I like a lot. I think I'll just let you taste this a little bit and tell me what you think, and we can talk more about it.
I'm curious about the orange zest, or because it is very crunchy, and I'm curious how you decided, which I actually like it. It's like the texture is kind of interesting, but not every orange and chocolate bar I taste has that kind of texture. Was that a decision you made, or did it kind of just happen in the process?
It was a little bit of an evolution. So I knew I didn't want to use orange oil. I just wanted it to be the orange peel. And I think when I started, it wasn't quite as crunchy. And I like my inclusions mixed in. I like texture in chocolate. I always, you know, Nestle's Crunch was my favorite back when I was doing that, you know, eating those chocolates. I love a little crunch in my chocolate. So the first time it wasn't quite as crunchy, but then I started candying it, you know, getting it to that stage where it was really crunchy. And I thought, I just like this because you get the flavor, but then you also have the texture. It's almost like having the texture of nuts in there. So that's kind of how that developed. Yeah.
I have to say, I have all of Maureen's bars, and the hazelnut one, it's dark milk, right? Or no, with hazelnut?
Yeah, it is.
That one, it is. It's like little pieces of hazelnut mixed in, and it is like a lovely European confection, even though it's just a bar. So we have some more questions and comments here. So Edward was just going back to the first Peru bar and saying that the smooth mouthfeel of the ucayali was really a standout for him. Rebecca is commenting that she likes the detail of the nation flags.
Mm, thank you.
I'm now trying to find myself.
It's in the little colored block where it has the name of the chocolate.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
No,
Takes a community to point everything out, I guess. Diana's saying they did the same dessert at her grandmother's, orange sherbet and chocolate syrup.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Carolyn writes that she loves how easy it is to open and reclose your packages. I will tell you that when I had the retail store, that was like a huge issue for a lot of our customers. Was they would think a lot about, like, I want to be able to take a piece and then be able to reclose the package. And a lot of chocolate makers, I think, when they're starting this, don't think about that with the packaging. And you know, they all had opinions, and sometimes the least beautiful packaging was the best at preserving the chocolate, you know. So we actually had a lot of conversations about that. So you're getting a thumbs up here.
That was really important to me when I was designing my packaging. That was really important. And when I took this online class, we did a lot of tasting. So they sent us this huge box of chocolate. I had a lot of bars, and some of them had the foil wraps. They had all kinds of things. And I ended up with just like wads of foil, and I couldn't get the wrapper back on, you know, and so it was just a mess in that box. And so that really helped me see how it was useful to have something that was reclosable. For sure.
Edward is asking, what variety of orange does the peel come from?
It is navel oranges. Yeah. So, which I guess they started out being called Bahia oranges, you know, from Spain, I think, and Brazil, which sounds much fancier. But what we've experimented with a couple, but the navel oranges, organic navel oranges, have the nice thick peel and good flavor.
Okay, and then Carolyn was just saying that she, her chocolate goes with her wherever she goes, and she may not have scissors, and she also doesn't want it all over her car. So she was the one who commented that she appreciated that your wrapper was resealable. Why don't we, should we look at the two photos, or the photos from current, and then maybe we can taste the final bar?
Great.
That work? Let me go tee these back up here. Oh, wait a minute.
And we have some processed ones.
Oh wait, we haven't gotten to process yet. Okay, let me hang on one second here. Let me share my screen again. It's an important part.
So this is my first helper and my husband in our kitchen. And this was when we were trying to fulfill that market of choice order. And this was Valentine's Day. This is how we spent our Valentine's Day. So we can go on to the next one. This is also trying to fulfill that order. This was a late night. I'm not a late night person, but we were, I mean, late. It was like 10:30. It was pretty late for me after a full day of work. And this one I share just to say that there are, you know, times where I felt chocolate is going to break me. You know, chocolate can make you lose your mind a little bit, because you'll feel like you've got it down. You figured out the tempering, you know, it's great. You know what you're doing. And then something goes wrong. And this was a night everything was going fine. You know, we're putting in the long hours trying to fulfill this order. And then there's something weird in the chocolate. Turns out it's like a little piece of paper towel. I'm not even near paper towels. I don't even know how this could be happening. So we had to do another batch. The chocolate mustache is that my husband was helping me, and he had the audacity to point out that I had a little chocolate on my face. I mean, there are just like more important things happening here. And it's just like, tell me at the end before we go out in public, like, you know, there's no need of, I always have chocolate on my face. So I was just kind of getting a little punchy at that point. So I like turned around and gave myself a chocolate mustache, and I'm like, did I get it off? So that's what that's about. Just, and to me, this just kind of illustrates how chocolate is magical and wonderful, but hard, you know, and I'm still running into things where everything's great, and then I'll have a batch where the temper is off, and I don't know why. I'm not doing anything different, but that's process. Let's go to the third. I think this is just a picture of the Be More. Yeah, a little Be More, looks like a toaster oven. So I have two of these, Bert and Ernie. I have to name them because they're very different and remember which is which. A couple more process. Oh, then this is just the inside in case you don't know what a Be More looks like. It's got this little drum, and it's made for coffee, but it works well for chocolate. It just kind of spins around, and then go to the next one. These are my shiny new melangers that hold 10K each. So they're the stone grinders. They've got the stone bottom and the big stone wheels, and they tilt, and they're just wonderful. I love them so much. And then we just have another shot.
Are these diamond?
Yep.
I think, okay.
Yeah. And then just a shot of what it looks like when it's going around. So I think that's it for process. What's the next? I have a number 7. What is that? Oh yeah, this is my roaster, my new roaster that I got at Portland, in Portland. So it's from a chocolate maker up there who used to use it, but now he's using bigger ones. So he was finally getting rid of some of his stuff. So yeah, that's my next challenge, figure out how this beautiful piece of machinery works. All right.
I was talking and no one could hear me.
Oh,
Sorry. I was just saying, shall we go ahead and try the goat's milk, and then we can have a few more photos and then we'll wrap up. This one, tell us about the awards here.
yeah. So this one is crazy because I entered this contest. I think it would have been October 2020. I didn't even have packaging yet. I wasn't selling anywhere. Yeah, it was before I went and picked up all my packaging. But when I was researching packages, I saw that people would have, you know, these stickers, these award stickers on their packages. And so I looked them up and I saw this International Chocolate Awards. They just so happened that they were accepting for the Americas. And I had a few months earlier experimented with this goat milk chocolate, which really grew on me. And I just thought, I think it's kind of different. It's probably something you love or you hate. But I just thought it was really different. It had this caramel, which, and a little bit of saltiness, and then super smooth. And so I sent it in, and it's the only one I sent in. It's not really like me to think, this is award winning. I'm gonna, send this in before I had even sold. So I don't know what possessed me, but I'm glad I did. Because in March, the day before I got the Market of Choice order, but I found out that I won for this, and it was hugely encouraging to me, because up until this point, I really had just been sharing my chocolate with friends and family and coworkers, so not professionals or people that would tell me the truth. So So I was totally excited to win that award. And it just kind of encouraged me to keep going, really.
I know the Americas round is open now. Are you going to enter again?
I am.
More entries this time?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, everything this time. And I also won a Good Food Awards just this year for my dark milk chocolate that's made with the Ecuador beans.
Lynn did a Google search for Moku in Japanese. Depending on how it's written in kanji, it can mean eye or tree, or it's short for Thursday.
Great. All those things are good.
I mean, the tree works really well with your chocolate and your packaging.
Yeah,
So,
I can say I meant to do that.
well, let's do this. Let me go ahead. If you have other questions you want to turn on your microphone and ask, please go ahead and have a little conversation before we wrap up.
This is Judy. I am so intrigued the fact that you were able to get the orange zest crunchy by candying it. So did you actually roast it also?
No, it's just we peel the oranges, chop them, and then we just put them in a big pot of sugar and water and let it get to that hard candy stage. So and then we just spread them out on cookie sheets and just let them dry. Maybe put them in the oven on warm, not roasting them though, but just kind of getting it dried out. Yeah. Sugar and water, really.
Kathy was asking if you purchase your goat milk in dehydrated form.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it has to be powder, or well, it can't be liquid, I should say. So the milk is in powdered form, and I'm in Oregon and there's lots of goats here and farmers, and I would love to get Oregon goat milk, but I haven't found anybody that makes the powdered goat milk. So I get it from Mayenburg, which is in California, and it's organic. So
I have to say, I'm not always a fan of goat milk in my chocolate, but I really, really like this one. I think sometimes it's a little too barnyardy for me, but this one's just, I think, is a beautifully balanced, lovely fit between the flavor of the goat milk and the chocolate. Edward says, I love the goat's milk. It lends a heavier, deeper creaminess with some nutty flavors as well. Carolyn is saying, the goat milk reminds me of the goat milk caramel that I bought when in Mexico. Also and I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Getust Norwegian goat milk cheese. Very nice.
ooh.
If somebody wants to correct me, feel free.
Geitost.
Say that again.
Geitost.
Geitost. Okay.
Mhm.
And
That
then
one goes on there.
Interesting, Carolyn, because one of the next things I want to do is learn how to make caramels with goat milk. Yeah.
And then Ying says, I also like the fisherman part of the packaging. Many Chinese ancient poems describe this kind of image.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw, but Ying included a link that might be interesting for you to check out.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'll have to look at that.
We are recording this, so the comments will get recorded as well, and I can send those to you so you can
Oh, good.
you know,
Good.
check things
Thank you.
out later.
I really like that fisherman part also. My designer came up with that. She added that in. And I think that's because we wanted to acknowledge the people. And, for the Peru beans, at least the Ucayali area is on the river and they transport their beans on these canoes. But I also like it because it looks like an Asian painting, which I really love that kind of art. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or things you all would like to ask Maureen before we wrap up?
This
I
is
love
Judy.
to hear about tasting notes. Oh, sorry.
Well, I love the cellophane wrapping. It's from, I think, my childhood too, and it has an elegance, but it doesn't close totally at the top. So for bars that aren't going to be sold immediately, what will happen to the shelf life of the bar?
I think that it is okay. I mean, that's a good question. But I believe that it's shelf stable even in this with the sticker and with the package. At least I hope so. But
I mean, maybe what Judy's getting at is because there is still potentially some air going in, or you losing
Yeah.
flavor or anything
Yeah.
like that. Is that kind of what you're getting at, Judy?
Yes, thank you.
yeah, I guess I don't know that to be the case. Hopefully my chocolate is selling fast enough that it's not on the shelves for 2 years. But I mean, I have chocolate in my cupboards that's, year and a half, and it hasn't been compromised. So hopefully that's not a problem. But yes, and these are glassine bags. You're right. And so somebody has to stick that little dot on it. So, which is not a big deal unless you're doing 1,000 of these. And then, so there may be a different design in the future, but I do like the glassine because it is compostable and it is kind of elegant. But if there were something that was like sealable on the top, but you could open it and then shut it again, I think that would be great too.
I mean, I think that's a trade-off that a lot of chocolate makers are always dealing with, right? Because the more plastic bags, they can quickly stick them in a heat sealer and completely seal
Right.
them,
Right.
but it's not compostable, right? And you might need scissors to open it. And here you're at least working with something compostable. So there are trade-offs to every type of packaging, like everything else. Okay. Anything else from anyone?
I was wondering if if having the crunchy orange peel bits in that Madagascar bar, if that was really the goal, having it be crunchy. Because normally when you put chocolate, like just plain dark chocolate in your mouth, you kind of let it melt. But as soon as you do that with the Madagascar, your mouth encounters these kind of sharp corners of the orange peel and forces you then to start chewing.
Yeah. It sort of was a goal. I mean, it sort of evolved. I knew I wanted the orange pieces in there, and I was candying them, but at the first time it wasn't like the full hard candy stage. But I always knew it would be something you'd have to chew. I wanted the pieces. That's why I didn't go with just like orange oil. So, I knew that it would be pieces. And like I said, personally, I love a little crunch and things. Like I was the kid. Well, I still do this, put potato chips on my sandwich. I like the crunch. And I love crunchy in chocolate. So that was a goal. Yeah.
All right. Any final words? Anyone? And yeah, no, this has been such a pleasure. And I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot more of Maureen and of Moku Chocolate. I hopefully will see you at the Northwest Chocolate Festival. I think those of this group that are in Seattle, which is probably about 2/3 of the group here, most of them attend the Northwest Chocolate Festival. I'm sure they'll be very happy to meet you in person. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you elsewhere as well.
Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate all the comments.
And Rebecca just pointed out we need to put in your web address here. So otherwise no one can buy. Let me do that.
Right. It's just mokuchocolate.com.
There we go. Right. Well, it's great seeing everybody. I hope that, we'll be able to see each other in person soon. I certainly would be up for that. So maybe we can find a way to meet outside sometime and taste some more chocolate. But in any case, it's nice to see you all. Thank you so much, Maureen, for doing this. It's such a pleasure to hear your story, and you have such a wonderful story, and you're so thoughtful about how you approach everything. And I think that is to me, that's one of the key elements of a really good chocolate maker. So in everything you do, you're very thoughtful and deliberate. And that comes across to me anyway, in everything you're presenting. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a good weekend. It was nice to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.